Okay, I should be live. I'm just sitting here. I'm waiting because if anyone's seeing me, I'm trying again, but you have to go to another window. So let me see if I can find the original live. Oh, this is frustrating. What happened here? This is so weird. And I can't get, let me see if I can get in here. Well, okay, good. Hopefully everybody can find me. If you guys still have your chat open, um, go please somebody copy this link because it had to start a new stream, and a new separate it's a separate link, even the thumbnail photo is gonna look different. Copy it and then paste it into the chat of the other one because it might still be open. If it's not, don't worry about it. Hopefully, everyone will find me. They'll figure it out. That was bizarre. I'm sitting here talking and nobody's replying, and I'm like and I noticed I had this warning and it said something about we're gonna reconnect, but then it went away and it showed we were still live. So I'm like, why is nobody hearing me or seeing me? That's so weird. It's the first time that's happened. And my Starlink is still working. I can still see I got all my bars. So hopefully everyone else can find me. So yeah, if anybody can go over there, if that chat window's still open, sometimes it can still be open. But okay, there's Deb. Yeah. Grr, I haven't had that happen. That's the kind of garbage that would happen back when I was doing my live shows years ago. So that is really unfortunate. Yeah, so I had to start it as a whole separate stream. So none of my links that I had in there are now gonna be below because I didn't wanna take time to try to get all that stuff back in there. I wanted to get going again because now I'm already 10 minutes late getting into my questions. So now I'm gonna have fun piecing all this stuff together later because I have to download both of these videos. Well, actually, well, yeah, I will. I'll still have to download both of them because I gotta at least get my greeting in there for the other video. So let me go ahead and get to these questions, and hopefully I know Dusty was wanting to hear this because, one of the questions was about, somebody had asked me in the last live show if I had a video on, let's see, I had to re-download YouTube. That is so weird. So oh, there she is. Okay, good. Um, what was I gonna say? Okay, so they asked me if I had a video on pecan milk. Well, I don't have a video on pecan milk specifically, but I have a video on pecan cashew milk. It's actually an older video, but if you go back to that video and go to the description box, you'll find the playlist link, and maybe if I see Deb's in here, hopefully, I thought I saw Diametra come in. I don't know. Hopefully one of my mods can go gather that link and just go ahead and put it in the, chat. It's to the full or you can even just get it from my main channel. Just look for dairy free in the playlist, and, you'll be able to put that in there, and so I have several different videos on making different kinds of dairy-free milks, like almond milk, coconut milk, the pecan cashew, where I also talk about the ways I use some of these in different ways. I have, I think, one on Brazil nut or Brazil/hazelnut. How you make them is really pretty much all the same, but how I use the pulp for making them can vary. So I think thank you. Oh, that's the butter crescent rolls. Thank another this and that. Well, actually, I have that video coming back to the bread. I have that video on, my basic yeast bread recipe, and then I talk about how I use that to make all those different things. So, anyway, along as well ah, so let me go back and talk just a little bit about how simple it is to make nut milk of any kind. You know, dairy-free milks, no matter what it is you wanna make. Again, coconut, almond, pecan cashew, I made tiger nut milk, just to try it, it kinda has a little bit of more of a coconut flavor. What else have I made? I don't know, I made a bunch. I made a bunch. I made hemp seed milk and pumpkin seed milk and didn't really care much for either one of those. But, uh, it's just a matter of taking the nuts of whichever kind you want, and I'll take about a cup of those and then put it in a jar, in a pint jar, top it off with water and let it sit overnight. And then that will soften those. Some people, because it maybe they're concerned about now I'm gonna have a brain cramp yet again, the what is it called? The phytonutrients? Is that what I'm thinking of? Anyway, no, that's not it. It starts with a P. Anyway, concerned about that, they might rinse that out and then add that water back or add more water. So then but you take those soap nuts, you put them in your blender, and then if you're using a cup of nuts or coconut or whatever, then you're gonna add 3 to 4 cups of water to your blender with that, and you're just gonna blend it up, blend it really, really good. If you wanna add a little sweetness, you can take a date and throw it in there, add a little sweetness, that's up to you, and then just strain it out through some fine cloth, cheesecloth, if it's a really well-woven cheesecloth, some cotton you know, material like, old cotton pillowcase or something, and then save that pulp and use it. Let's see, let's see, I did copy paste. State's video is no longer available. What am I doing wrong? Yeah, don't worry about it, Brenda, or I see you're talking to Deb. Don't worry about that. I was just hoping that if anybody but it looks like most everybody found their way back in here. So frustrating that happened. Get everything all set up. Got my picture and everything, but at least I have a thumbnail it can default to that looks nice instead of some stupid thumbnail. So, what was I gonna say? Yeah, and then you strain it and then save that pulp, and you can either dry the pulp out, like put it in a dehydrator. A lot of times I might dry it next to my wood stove, and then, you can use that as a flour replacement or a partial flour replacement. Really good in pancakes and muffins, and if you want to, you can then try to, like, use a coffee grinder and powder that up a little finer, because usually once it's dry, it's kinda clumpy, so if you can powder it up finer. When I make my sound is distorted, and it shouldn't be. Is anybody else having that same problem with the sound? Because it looks like my mic's working just fine. So I don't see any issues there from my end, so please let me know. Um, then it is distorted? What on earth is going on here? At times it's distorted. Oh, this is great. This is just wonderful. That's just what I needed. Actually, it's been a pretty good day, but okay, I'm not really sure what to do. If I wonder if I'm afraid to let me try turning the mic down and see if that helps. It might make it quieter, but let's see if that helps with the distortion, and let me know if that sounds any better. It says, "At times." It talk. Well, you know what? This is such a bummer. I had so much I wanted to cover today. I'm wondering if I'm just gonna have to close down the show entirely and just wait until did that turning it down help at all? Anyway, I'm sorry, people. See, I can still hear and understand you fine. It just keep going, who cares? Okay, as long as everyone can hear me okay, or at least understand what I'm saying, but the bummer part about this is I don't know that I'll be able to make a separate video out of it if the sound is really terrible. So, but that's okay. I'm far enough ahead, I'll be fine. So, okay, maybe turning the mic down a little bit might help. Let me get back to talking about what you can do with that pulp. So besides using it as a flour replacement, at least a partial, it depends on what you're using it in. Uh, but, like, pancakes and muffins are usually and I've actually made an all nut flour pancakes using that same stuff, and as long as you put a couple eggs in instead of just 1, it holds together pretty good. So, the other thing that I like to do specifically with the pecan cashew, see, the cashew adds that kind of a creamy texture to it. I don't like doing the cashew milk by itself because it's so rich that it's hard to squeeze all the milk out of the pulp without starting to get the cashew pulp wants to start going through the pulp no matter how fine it is. But I find when I use a blend, like a half and half blend of, like, pecans and cashews, or you can use almonds and cashews, that it works out really well that and then the cashew still gives it that creaminess that makes it super good and flavor. Makes it really good for making, like, a cream cheese out of. You just add a little bit of, your nutritional yeast to give it even more of that cheesy flavor, then you have this it's really good. I love it. Other things you can do with the pulp is kinda turn it into a pudding. So instead of adding the nutritional yeast, obviously, you can add a little honey to it, maybe some cacao powder, and make yourself like a chocolate pudding out of it. You know, if you leave it not, um if you don't strain it out too much, leave some of that milk in there so it's a little less thick, and I love all the things. Now, I'm not dairy free, I'm not vegan. I've been vegan in the past, tried it a couple of times, just more out of curiosity, not for me, but learning a lot of these things on the way was I'm like, sometimes I really like having some, pecan cashew milk or Brazil nut milk or Brazil nut hazelnut milk or coconut milk, almond milk, and then just kinda playing around with it and with the pulp that I get from it. Sometimes it's just fun, and I like it. But, also, I like being able to let people know who are vegan or have to be dairy free that there are options out there. I also have a recipe in that playlist. Did anybody, by the way, find the link to that playlist? If not, I might be able to get it because I have my other window open. Um, I have a recipe on making let's see if I can get it and do this, uh, like a fettuccine or Alfredo sauce, and it's super easy to do. The only difference is you're using instead of using, like, regular dairy milk, you're using your dairy-free milk, so, yeah, I think I got the link. I don't know why I didn't think of doing that before. So, let me put the title in so you know what it is. If I can spell it right, dairy-free playlist. Hopefully, I have it spelled right, I can't see it super good. Okay, so somebody asked, "Do you happen to make cheese?" I have a video, one I just actually on my other channel that I actually had just recently mastered on making goat cheese, 'cause that was back when we were getting raw goats from a friend, and had I showed, like, 4 different I think I showed myself making 2 different varieties and then talked about the other 2 varieties I made, but just using different herbs and spices in there to give it different flavors, and that was fun. Those all turned out so good, and I shared some of it with a friend who had been giving me the goat's milk, and she liked it quite a bit. So, but yeah, I did put that playlist in there so you'll find all those different videos in there. So, yeah, I turned the mic down. I turned the mic d I could turn the volume back up, but I turned the mic down to see if that would help with the distortion. Let me turn it back up a little bit and see. I'm trying to find that balance because I have no idea. I can't hear it. I probably should put some headphones in so I can hear what's going on your end. But at any rate, yeah, so there's a few different ideas. Again, whatever kind of dairy-free milk you wanna make is so super easy. You can just start experimenting, and you'll find what you like best, and if you don't like it, like pumpkin milk, the pumpkin seed milk, don't I don't remember what I ended up using that for. I think I used it to make some kind of savory type sauce, like an Alfredo sauce or something like that, because it wasn't good to just drink or to add to your cereal or something like that. So then the other question I got, the 2 big ones I wanted to make sure I covered was about vacuum sealing powder. Somebody was asking me about that. And the trick to it is it can be done. You can vacuum seal powders into jars, but there's a trick. There's one special little step you gotta take that's super, super easy. All you need to do is before you put the lid on top of the jar, you take something, some kind of barrier you gotta lay on top of the powder itself. And I usually use some cotton cloth I already have on hand that's clean, and just cut a small piece that I can just put over the top of that, then put the lid on, then vacuum seal. You can use paper towel, you can use coffee filter, some people will use, like, muffin liners, like the mini ones, because they're small, and they'll fit over there all nice and they're already round. Uh, but yeah, that what happens then is that barrier will prevent those powders from getting sucked out from inside the jar and making a layer around the rim of the jar that then prevents the lid from sealing well. It might seem like it's sealed at first, but then in a short amount of time, it just immediately comes unsealed. I kept having that happen the first time I was trying to vacuum seal up a bunch of cacao powder I had bought, and I'm like, "Why can't I get this seal?" And I realized what's happening, that I'm looking at it, I'm like, "Oh, it's 'cause all this powder keeps getting sucked out, so it's preventing the seal." So, let me see here. So, yeah, I have the video on the dairy-free cream cheese, and I have a video on the, uh, goat's milk cheese. So, both of those are kinda boy, they're good, they're good. Let's see, so that was it on the little trick on the vacuum sealing. And I have lots of videos on vacuum sealing on my other channel if you're interested in learning. I still my preferred way is still using the brake bleeder pump, which is an automotive tool. But you'll see that if you look up any of my vacuum sealing related videos. And the food saver tops with canning jars, and then if it's not a canning jar, like it's a recycled green olive jar that will fit inside the canister that Patrick makes, the chamber, then I'll use the brake bleeder pump with that. So, if you look up options for vacuum sealing on my channel, then, I show all of that, and plus I show a few other options that I've tried and kinda played around with a little bit, little handheld devices and whatnot. But, the brake bleeder pump's still my favorite. And let's see, moving on, so dehydrating pastas, let's talk about this. I actually, shot my this and that for Monday this morning, and so I talk about it in there, but I'm gonna talk about it again here. So I was showing the spaghetti with the sauce that I had dehydrated, and was noting the fact that because one of the things was noting the fact because of the way I dehydrated it, not thinking that unless I wanna break it down into little tiny pieces, it's gonna take up too much room this way. So I I mentioned in Monday's this and that, if you, like, make it in little small piles that would fit inside the jar, this way then you could stack them and you could put a lot more in there if you don't want your this is specifically for spaghetti. If you don't want your spaghetti noodles, all broken into tiny bits. And then Deb came up with this really great idea of using these round silicone soap balls to put the spaghetti in, and then drying them in that, and that way, when they're all done, I mean, that would be almost the perfect size to sit down inside your jars, if you're using jars. If you're not using jars, then, it's still a good idea because you'll still have it in a smaller form that you don't have to break up in little bits. Well, along with that came a really good question that I didn't think about it. Yeah, Tammy, I know there's sound issues. There's something went haywire, and I haven't been able to fully get everything working right. I had to start a whole new thing because whatever, I've done the best I can. The sound joint is working on my end. I don't know what to say. So, other than I just shut the whole show down and just wait for Sunday when I go live and finish answering these questions. So, because yeah, I have no idea what happened. Anyway, somebody answered and again, if you can't hear everything I'm saying, I do cover this on Mondays, Somebody's asking, "Well, why bother dehydrating your spaghetti noodles when you can buy them when pasta is already in the dry when you buy it?" Very good question. Well, it's the same reason why you might consider, because I remember having this question when I first heard of people dehydrating, cooking up beans from a dry state and then dehydrating. I'm like, "Why bother? I don't get that." Well, it's exactly the same reason. Or rice. You can make minute rice by cooking the rice, then dehydrating. Now it's gonna be minute rice when you go to rehydrate. That's the point. So, having your pasta cooked and then dehydrated means it's gonna rehydrate much faster than the actual cooking process of your pasta. Because pasta, whether you have it in a fresh form or you're buying it packaged all dried up, it's not cooked. It's raw when you get it. It's never been cooked. So, you have to cook it, and the cooking process for that takes far longer than simply rehydrating pasta that was previously cooked and then dehydrated. Now for around here, just at home, I wouldn't do this, but if I want something that's a quick and easy meal that I can throw in maybe a Mylar bag, not necessarily a jar, and I can take on the road as a, emergency food, or we're just going camping or hiking, which we hardly ever do that anymore. Hoping maybe this fall we'll go camping. We'll see, for, Feast of Tabernacles, that's my hope. But, it's always so wet that time of year here, though, it's terrible. At any rate, all I have to do is add hot water to it, just like you would cup noodles, which, of course, are terrible for you, but you know my point. Just put it in a thing and add some hot water to it and let it rehydrate, and it's gonna be a lot easier than trying to boil up noodles for however long it takes, 10, 15 minutes till they're the right till they're edible. So, anyway, uh, and by the way, people, if I cut out completely, please let me know. I will just shut the show down, and I'll just finish my questions on Sunday. It's kind of frustrating me, this is going so terrible. Um, First time since having Starlink I've seen that happen, and I don't know if I had anything to do with Starlink, but I will say this, because of all that snow, I don't know if maybe that might have caused something, but I get the impression it's happened from YouTube's end, not my end. I'm not sure, I have no idea. But at any rate, let me try to tackle a few more questions before I get off of here. So it might be a fairly short show because of all these issues. Somebody asked, "Can I drink fennel tea while on levothyroxine?" Now, I actually went ahead and read this one specifically, but I commonly get questions of people asking me if they can do this while they're on that medication. Well, that's not for me to say. I won't know that. I won't know that because 1, I'm not you. 2, I'm not a doctor. 3, I don't have a license in any kind of, medicine, be it natural medicine or whatever, right? So, the reason though I did read this one is because I was on levothyroxine for 15 years, and almost 13 years ago now, went off of it and haven't been back on thyroid medication of any kind since. So, based on my own personal experience, I would assume it's fine, but you as an individual, you people, whenever you have these kind of questions, because everybody's gonna have, I mean, maybe you just can't even ingest fennel at all. Maybe you have other issues. So I won't be able to tell you that. So this is where personal responsibility steps in, and you've got to find out for yourself if that's going to be something you can do. You may even have to ask your doctor, "Is this safe?" Well, fennel is a food product. People add it to spaghetti sauce and a lot of it's in a common Italian seasoning. I add it now to my when I make my homemade, uh, beef or elk's turkey Italian sausage, I'll add it to that, or the pepperoni, or, certain other things like that. So, I don't know why it would be a problem, but then again, people can have allergies, there can be certain types of, other issues going on in your body along with the medication and trying to do this together. You just gotta figure that out for yourself. though I generally speaking, I was when I was on thyroid medication, there was nothing I was told to avoid, nothing I found I had to avoid, no kind of herb or spice or food. I just ate normal, and, whatever tea I felt like making, I made it, and I didn't worry about it. So, my gut instinct is to say it's fine, but that might not be fine for someone else. So I brought this question up again, this type of question is one I get so much because a lot of people want these fast, easy answers, but not even the doctor that knows you best is still not always gonna have the quick, easy answer for you. And especially when it comes to combining the allopathic medicine with some kind of naturopathic type medicine. He may not know that or she may not know that, so this is where personal responsibility has to come into play, and you've gotta do the research for yourself, and it can be time consuming and sometimes frustrating. Just like when we decided to go off thyroid medication almost 13 years ago, before I did it, I was hunting and searching and hunting and searching online, and back then, at that time, it was so much harder, believe it or not, harder back then than it is now to find what kind of herbs and spices and other things that a person can do to help heal their thyroid so that they don't have to be on medication. That was so much harder to find back then, but I still found enough information. I was able to start making those steps and weaned myself off first and then Patrick, the very next month off the thyroid medication, and we haven't been back on since. So, my dehydrated powder eggs have turned brown. Do you think they're still good? I don't know if they're brown, that's brownish. Mine have turned darker in color, but they're still good. They're a gold color, but they're not brown. They've been in there for at least 2 years because lately last couple of years, I always had eggs, so I haven't needed to dip into my dehydrated eggs. I really need to start using them up and cycle through that. But, at any rate, yeah, I sometimes feel like I don't say that enough about that. So, hi, Amy. Yeah, we had to start a whole new stream because and apparently I'm having sound issues because something happened during the stream and everything got messed up. So, can we talk about no, we can't. Absolutely not. That was the first topic that got me in trouble on YouTube. Even though I'd had videos on it for years, suddenly I got 3 videos about 3 years ago, 3 of my videos got wiped out, and I got a warning on my channel. So now those kind of I do still have that video, that very thorough one I did, over on my Rumble channel, and I have it pinned to the top. So that's one of the many topics you cannot talk about here, or I will probably lose my channel altogether if I'm not careful. So, uh, okay, what was that? Sorry. Um, Another question kinda in relation to medicines is another question that I get a lot, another question I get a lot, sorry. I'm repeating myself, but is people will find that they had tinctures or infused oils that they had forgotten about, got pushed to the back of their medicine cabinet, and they've been infusing all this time and, they drained it out. There seems to be some kind of, I don't know where this is coming from, but there's really little difference between how long that tincture or oil is gonna last if you have strained it or not. Now, if you're using fresh herbs and oils, I don't recommend doing that at all. That's the one thing I do not recommend ever doing is using fresh herbs to infuse your oils. That can cause more problems than not. It can make your oil rancid, it's more apt even though botulism is very rare, it's gonna be more apt to cause issues in that way, but mostly you're more likely to have your oil go rancid. So, I only ever use dried herbs with my oil, but it's not gonna change, you still have to infuse it for at least 2 months. What would another 2 months or a year what difference is that gonna make? as long as you're using a shelf-stable oil that can handle heat like avocado oil, then it's just not a concern. I found an oil, last year I found an oil that it was a healing salve oil that had been infused and forgot about it, it was back there for a couple of years, and it was so dark, but it was still good, it didn't smell rancid. Same thing goes with your tinctures. Just yesterday, I was cleaning out my where I infuse all my oils and tinctures. I keep them out on the counter for a few days so I can take them, then I'll put them back to finish infusing for the next couple months, couple years, however long it takes until I get to it in a cabinet. And so we're cleaning out that cabinet yesterday because some stuff had tipped over and spilled and made a mess, and then I was like, "Oh my goodness, here's this, fresh peppermint extract I had made from my own homegrown peppermint." It was fresh, and I forgot this was back here. I started it in 2020, so it's about 4.5 years old. Because I woulda started when my peppermint was coming in, you know, really well, and boy, that is some strong peppermint extract, and it's still good. I'm not afraid of it. So, it really some of it's gonna depend on what you're using. And, but personally, if you're using good shelf-stable ingredients, alcohol doesn't spoil. It might turn to vinegar, but it doesn't spoil. Raw honey does not spoil, and a lot of my extracts I make with raw honey and homemade wine. Sometimes raw honey and maybe some, like, the vanilla extract, I use mostly, spiced rum because I like the flavor it adds plus raw honey. Uh, that's not necessary, but that's just how I do it. But I'm not about that going bad, and I never strain my vanilla beans out. So it's not something to be afraid. So I'm noticing not everybody that was in the other stream made it over to this one, unfortunately. That's too bad. Sorry, people. Um, another question somebody asked, I think today, came across it was, uh, it was on the video on fermenting onions, and a lot of my ferments like that, I only once they're bubbly, which takes about 3 to 4 days, to me, they're done. They're ready. I don't like a lot of that stuff turning tart, especially the onions and the garlic. I don't want them sour because the things I'm gonna use them in, I may not want them sour. I use the fermentation starter, a little salt for flavoring, water, and then let them ferment for about 3 days. And again, longer if it needs it. Like if the house is really cold, it could take longer. But now when it comes to kimchi, it's all bubbly in 3 days, I'll start eating it at that point. To me, it's ready. But the longer I let it sit, like right now, I've got kimchi on my counter I'm working through, I just let it sit and I'm working through it, and the longer it sits there, the more sour, the more tart it's gonna be. So, if you let something like that sit for a couple of weeks, yes, it will get tart. It'll get more tart the longer it sits. It just it's all about the flavor you want. So, if it's good and bubbly, you've got a nice good ferment going. If you want it really tart, let it ferment for longer, 10 days, 14 days, however you want, before sticking in your fridge if you wanna stop the fermentation process or at least slow it way down. Would you know any reason I could not add ACV to rose-infused water for hair use? I don't know any reason why you couldn't. So, speaking specifically of apple cider vinegar, I personally, when I use vinegar, I use my own homemade floral vinegars, my favorite ones for my hair being the, uh, rosemary nasturtium, and I do those with fresh typically, I've used dried, because you can use dried, but typically I'll use fresh from the garden, and my rose lavender, I make vinegar from those, from scratch. So, water, sugar, herbs. So, remember, you can go over to my other channel, you can find my vinegar making playlist, look for the one that says, "How to make any kind of vinegar." It's my most recent, most thorough, and it's got an orange thumbnail where the words are. And then a picture of orange peeled juniper vinegar that I was starting that day. Would you know oh, I already read that, sorry. Oh, okay. Okay, Cassidy, cool. Yeah, I sometimes I don't know. I don't know. Some people think that, there's only apple cider vinegar out there and don't even realize they can make it themselves, so I just like to make sure I get that out there. So I'll probably hit a couple more questions, and I'm probably gonna get off here. Is by the way, anyone, I'm not seeing anyone say anything more about the sound. Is it still doing the same thing? Just let me know. Is it still weird? Is it still being distorted and cutting out? I'm assuming it's making that kinda, like, buzzy, weird sound, 'cause I've caught that a couple times on my videos when I download them and then turn them into a separate standalone video. Let's see. Okay, I already covered that. Some of the stuff I think I'll get to later because I'm not really sure how well this stream is going right now, and I'm still very frustrated that happened. Sound's still buffering. Okay, you know what, people, um, as much as I would like to keep going, the sound thing is I I don't like that. It's really, really bothering me, so I'll either save some of these questions, the rest of these for next Wednesday, or I'll cover them on Sunday when we go live again. Hopefully by then, maybe what needs to happen is everything here needs to be shut down if it's on my end. If it's on YouTube and I mean, I didn't shut down YouTube entirely. I just shut down the other stream, hoping that would fix it, and it got us back up, but the sound being wacko makes me wonder if maybe even my mic needs to be so I'm gonna go ahead and close this out and see if I can salvage anything out of these. If not, whatever. It is what it is. Thankfully, I've got plenty of videos ahead that I don't have to worry about it too much. So, thanks to everyone for coming in. Again, I apologize for all the issues that happened. I wish I knew what it was, but, there's always more of these to come. So thanks for being here. Love you all. Wish I could stay, but if the sound is being weird, there's no point in me staying on here. So anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.